Hey everyone, welcome. As you're getting your sound adjusted, I'd like to take a moment to tell you how thrilled I am to bring this event to you. I'm Sherry Dedman, Partnership Specialist with Teaching Channel. I began working with Atmosphere Academy several years ago, getting them set up with Teaching Channel. It was obvious to me right away that Atmosphere Academy's program is really special. Today's webinar showcases Atmosphere's team and their program, a real inspiration in education and in student learning. I asked my colleague, Wendy Amato, Dr. Wendy Amato, to moderate for us today. Wendy?
Thank you, Sherry. I have had the pleasure of visiting 3 of the locations of Atmosphere schools, and I'm equally excited with Sherry Dedman to bring expertise to the education conversation that we're all involved in today. Thank you all for joining us. When Sherry invited me to be moderator, I knew it was partly because I insist on the basics of a good webinar, and that is definitely encouraging each of you to open your chat. There's expertise on the screen, and we're going to learn from the Atmosphere team, but we also have contributions, ideas, questions, suggestions that we can share with one another in the chat. So if you haven't already done that, open your chat, feel free to introduce yourself there, and we'll get some community going in the chat. Throughout the webinar, please don't hesitate to post questions in the chat. We'll field as many of those at the end of the webinar as we can. We'll also follow up with you to make sure that you have the information that you need to bring good leadership and proper programming to support student learning outcomes. So with the housekeeping in order, it's my pleasure to properly welcome the Atmosphere Academy team. Atmosphere Academy has brought us the best of the best for our panel today, and I'll ask each of the Atmosphere people to introduce themselves as they contribute to the webinar, but you can see there's a great lineup right here. For our agenda today, there's no question that we want you to understand, Sherry and I both want you to understand why we asked Atmosphere to join us and share about their program. They have a lot of design decisions and recommendations that could move the dial for you as you prioritize student learning outcomes in your own program and in your own classrooms. So we'll look at the specifics, and we will get as much detail as we can. We'll answer as many questions as you can ask us. So with that, I turn to the Chief Executive Officer, Colin Green. Colin, welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you to Sherry and to Wendy and to Teaching Channel for hosting us. We're really excited to be here. As Wendy just mentioned, I am the CEO and founder of Atmosphere Academy. And before that, I was an English teacher at the beginning of my career and then a school administrator after that. So I took all of those lessons learned and applied them to creating Atmosphere today. And we're excited to share our growth story and school model with you. And thanks to all the audience members who are with us today. Atmosphere was founded in 2015, has experienced about 10x growth over the first 9 years of the school, increasing both in terms of our student population, staff, and our results. So we'll be talking about that today. Based on this growth, we were celebrated as a recognition school by the state of New York in 2020 as one of the fastest growing and highest achieving schools in New York State. Atmosphere is located in Northwest Bronx, just past the tip of Manhattan. We currently have 4 buildings in our campus structure, and obviously they're within actually walking distance of each other, but also driving distance. So they're mostly located around the Van Cortlandt Park and Manhattan College area. Atmosphere has been renewed once and expanded twice. So as you look at this chart, you're seeing really our growth due to those accomplishments. And our applicants have increased significantly. Our students have gone from about 120 students on day one. We ended that first year with 138 students to now over 1,300 students this year, and we'll welcome over 1,600 students next year. Our staff count has gone from about 20 staff in year 1 to over 200 staff now. In fact, many of Atmosphere staff from those first few years are still with us, almost 10 plus years later. So we actually started with the founding team in about 2014. So it's been a really strong decade of accomplishment. And 2 of those members of the founding team are with us today. Ms. Nash and Mrs. Shamgod are presenters today, and they're members of our founding team from back then. Special education, we usually have about 20 to 30% special education population in our school. Our L population is about 8 to 15%, depending on the year. Economically disadvantaged is about 87% poverty. And the race of our students is usually about 95% Black and Hispanic each year. So if I had to highlight one aspect of that table you just saw, the visualization of our student population, the demand for seats, and the increasing seats that we can offer, thanks to our partners at the state level, who really believe in our model, have seen our results, and have rewarded us with the good fortune and the responsibility of educating more students that we take very seriously.
Thank you, Mr. Green, for setting the context for us. You really position us to understand why the information you're sharing is really powerful. We're going to transition here. Ms. Glorioso Brennan, can you introduce yourself, please, and share about other special features of the program?
Thank you so much, Wendy. I appreciate that introduction, and thank you to all of our participants today. We're really thrilled to be here. As Wendy said, I am Catherine Glorioso Brennan, and I'm currently celebrating my 25th year in education, 7 of which have been at Atmosphere. I joined the school in between its 2nd and 3rd year, and I'm presently serving as the Chief Curriculum Officer. I'm really thrilled to share with you our school mission because I feel like it is unlike any other. Our mission is not only to get our scholars into the top colleges and careers, but to make them successful when they get there. How many schools can say that? That starts with strategically designed academic programs that build proficiency. Our robust academic program allows scholars to earn advanced diploma types and college credits, setting them apart from the other high school peers. Our career program begins in middle school and provides our high school juniors and seniors with on-the-job experience through internships with some of the top corporations and leaders in their fields.
This is impressive. Ms. Nash, would you introduce yourself also and then take us into some of Atmosphere's very impressive outcomes?
Absolutely. Thank you, Wendy. Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Nash. I'm the Chief Learning Officer at Atmosphere Academy and a founding team member, as Colin previously shared. I oversee special education, English language learner services, and intervention at Atmosphere. In this graph, you can see our overall results in the New York State English exam. Clearly, our trajectory supports that in the careful design of our program, we are working tirelessly to meet the goals of our mission by raising student achievement. In this graph, we are not only outperforming our prior achievements, but also the state and district. In mathematics, we have equally strong results. In fact, in 2019, we were named the fastest growing middle school in the state in mathematics.
That's the big picture for us. And we want to make some focus for our webinar today. If you've been reading the things that I've been reading in Ed Week and looking at their research, if you know the data from the National Council of Education Statistics, there are a few things that are really clear. We are called as an education community to focus on the physical and cultural environments of our school. That's a must. We have to commit to continuous improvement. And we have to get better at using data to drive our programmatic decisions. And so we'll address each of these 3 key areas in our conversation today. And so, Colin, I'm going to pass it back to you and share a little bit about the physical aspect of the program.
Absolutely. And really, this goes back to brand, right? And in creating Atmosphere, we had to select a name, and the name Atmosphere stuck. And it stuck for a reason, because we're really looking at the setting you walk into every single day. And we really starts with the facility. That's something that's very important. We want a welcoming facility that makes it a nice place to learn and work. Strong culture is absolutely critical to success. Rigorous academics and high quality pedagogy and instruction. So looking at the entry to the building, it's absolutely important that it's welcoming. It's sets the tone for when students and staff walk into the building and what they're going to do that day. So really focus with the foundation of safety. It's absolutely critical that we provide a safe space for all of our students and staff. And that goes, across the board from, socially, physically, all of those dynamics that are very important to safety. Cleanliness is also extremely important. It's critical that the entry space around the building is clean, as well as the lobby and the hallways and everything once you get in. So then looking inside the building, we really talk about aesthetics, that the color choices for the walls, the flooring, the lighting, all those things are super important to us. And then we also, another part of aesthetics is also sometimes putting on decals and other choices about how you want to convey certain messages. So we're very intentional in terms of both our internal and external messaging and branding. So both within the hallway, on the windows as students enter, flags over the front entrance, all set to give a message about what we're accomplishing that day.
Mr. Green, you used the word intentional, and I think that's one for us to keep in mind. So with that overview, Ms. Nash, can you talk us through the relationship between the form and the function of the classrooms?
Yes, absolutely. At Atmosphere, like Colin mentioned, we want all members of our community to feel empowered by the environment that they are in. Staff and students immediately walk into a building where the Atmosphere brand comes to life through visible, unique systems, whether designed for learning or for community culture. As you walk through the halls to each classroom, every space is filled with unique Atmosphere systems, student data, and memorable moments in Atmosphere's history. All stakeholders will work together to uphold that cleanliness and maintain spaces to ensure that it is a safe learning environment. Classroom design starts with furniture selection and building a community culture of ownership. Furniture selection allows staff to have more autonomy to design spaces to further support the lessons and co-teaching models. As you can see, our selection of soft furniture is designed to be set up in a variety of ways.
Anyone in education knows that the design and the setup of the room indicates to the students how they're going to interact in there. If you're in rows, it means one thing. If you're in clusters, it means another thing. And so, Ms. Brennan, how does the conversation move from furniture to school culture? We'll take a look at school culture.
Sorry.
Perfect.
I think that can you hear me now? Thank you.
Absolutely.
I believe that it's very important to understand, once again, that everything we do at Atmosphere is intentional. And our school has found great success in aligning our expectations and processes. The posters that you see right now exemplify our culture systems that communicate our processes to all stakeholders. In this way, all members of our community will know how students should enter, participate, and even exit our learning spaces. Similarly, in terms of our academic systems, these mnemonic devices are visually appealing and support scholars in consistently addressing a type of prompt or task. The key is consistency. Having all of our students and educators aligned in their approach allows for us to more effectively instruct our scholars to get the best results. As illustrated in our previous slides, our data continuously proves that these systems are effective.
One of the things that I noticed when I was at Atmosphere is that certainly the adults are very intentional in creating the space, but that's not all. We know that the space at Atmosphere is co-created with the students. And so, Ms. Villasas, will you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about how the students are involved in the space?
Sure, Wendy. Hi, my name is Mary Villasas, and I am a science special ed educator. And here at Atmosphere, I have collaborated with my co-teacher to ensure to create a student-owned learning environment. We embrace students to own their learning, how to apply what they're learning, and take responsibility for their progress and success. So here you can see, when looking at our curriculum, we have created a learning task that carefully incorporates learning strategies that scaffold complex classroom activities. Now, this pedagogical approach targets student thinking and emphasizes the importance of creating a supportive and engaging learning environment that is conducive to student success. Now, this can range from short, simple activities like problem solving, peer discussions, science lab, role-playing, and structured team-based learning. Here is an important component in our classroom is having reflective practices. We center our classroom to help students make sense of what they are learning and engage in deepening our scholars' understanding based on the lesson. As an educator, we reflect on student learning constantly checking for student understanding and differentiating our lessons. We also incorporate a quarterly survey that helps us reflect on best practices that help our students understand the lesson and what benefits our scholars. Now, the parking lot, as you see here, is a great component for students to voice their understanding on the lesson. If they still have questions on the lesson, they can write their ideas on how the lesson is going, or if they need extra assistance in understanding the lesson. The classroom dynamic is important because we want to impact the whole child emotionally, mentally, and physically.
Ms. Villas, if the students are helping to co-create the space, that's one thing, but what actually keeps them motivated? Can we talk about that?
Sure. So we're strong believers here at Atmosphere that appreciation is one of the most effective student motivators. The impact of celebrating student success and rewarding them for their achievement. It's amazing. As a school, we celebrate student success during assemblies. However, we took the initiative to bring that into the classroom for the students of the month. So where scholars are recognized for things like responsibility, courage, trustworthiness, and their academics with our science class. Now, the scholars, they create their individual goals, and the class goals, they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This has motivated them to see the importance of learning together and achieving one common goal. As you can see here, our learning environment is more than just a classroom. We bring our science curriculum to life. It is a space where scholars feel safe, supported, and inspired in their pursuit of learning. Now, scholars can make text-to-self connection and text-to-world connection while learning about different units. Our classroom environment comes to life with a blend of social, mental, and instructional components of science. Now, scholars can understand at a deeper level, which affects students' motivation and allows them to put more effort into their learning activities. So as an educator, I believe it is essential to develop a lesson that is meaningful, connects to scholars' experience, and encourage them to become emotionally invested in the lesson.
That emotional investment is something that I got to see in action. And actually, many of us can see this in action because there are some really beautiful videos available on the teaching channel that showcase the Atmosphere Academy program. So I want to share one with you now. We're looking at a non-traditional classroom at Atmosphere. We'll hear some commentary about it. And then I'd like to point out a few specific watch fors to pay attention to in this clip. So join me in watching this video.
Right? I love my classroom, and so did they. It's very warm and comfortable. It gives me the opportunity where I can move them around in the room, or they can get up, walk, and so, for example, one of my previous lessons, they were able to do group work, so they can go anywhere around the room, even if it's behind my desk. I'm perfectly fine with that because they know that the expectation is that they need to work on the assignment and they need to stay focused.
Now, I'm pausing the audio in this video because I want you to actually just look at it. I want you to see what I was able to see there. I see a student in a traditional hard desk, flat top with a chair. I see comfortable seats for the students individually. I see a couch. I see a cafe height table with high chairs, all offering students the opportunity to come into the room and choose a seating arrangement that is going to be what they choose for themselves so they can be effective learners in the space. And now if you'll listen, Ms. Baker DeCambry finishes by reminding us that our assumptions about how we want to learn or be seated may not match with what the students choose for themselves. So we'll listen to the closing comments here about students seating themselves even on the floor and ultimately preparing for environments where they have so much more autonomy about how they want to learn. Listen to this.
And create their own groups on like you're in high school. But they feel comfortable sitting on the carpet and getting their work done. Okay, and if they are perpendicular, what special types of angles are formed?
Watch how engaged the students stay.
What special types of angles are formed?
They form right angles.
They definitely form right angles, okay? It's like we're preparing them for college. It's like a college setting. So we didn't want the room to be a regular classroom, and it's like a reward for the students who are performing above average to use that classroom, because not everyone is able to be taught in that classroom.
Yeah, to have that kind of independence is something that students have to develop into. We certainly don't want to send them off into college choosing their own arrangements for the first time without support. So this is one of the really lovely rooms that I was able to see at Atmosphere. I have another video for you. I'm looking forward to sharing this one. I'm going to show this one again without any sound, because I'd like to draw your attention to some of the things that we can see in this special education classroom. And in this case, I'm asking you to focus on, let me get it going and then we can focus. In this case, I'm asking you to focus on the room design. There are several small groups set up in this classroom, and you'll notice there's not a teacher or assistant with each of the groups. They're able to work independently. There's a variety of tasks occurring in this room. The small groups are not each doing the same thing. So the outcomes, the activities are different. There's access to resources both on the walls and throughout the classroom. Things are clearly labeled. Students have some self-service opportunities to get what they need. There's a sign language interpreter here in the class supporting one of the students with a clear focus on the content delivery is from the main teacher. Everything just works together purposefully here. In the reading corner behind under the red poster, there's a reading corner with bins of books. It's labeled, and the space is wonderful to have multiple activities with a range of options for the students. One of the things that I notice in this space too is that it's sunny. And unfortunately, I've been in a number of school environments where special education programs are in the basement and it's dark and it's not welcoming. What I saw at Atmosphere was a beautiful environment and beautiful sunny windows for these students to learn their best. There is nothing easy or quick about setting up purposeful lessons like the one that we're seeing in this clip, but it's always worth the effort because the learning outcomes speak for themselves. So we'll pause here, and Mr. Green will bring it back to you, asking you to keep us on this line of thinking about intentionality.
Thank you, Wendy. Appreciate it. And as we've been talking about space and instruction, I think also what we're talking about is how do we make sure we keep quality up across all classrooms, across all workspaces. So this applies not only to our teachers, but to our staff as well. And what we've really found at Atmosphere, and I think everyone who's joined us today and audience members, you also share an atmosphere. We're all educators. We're all trying to provide the best learning environment possible for our students. So to do that, really effective quality reviews, they cannot be occasional, haphazard, or superficial. You can see here that ours are sequenced from weekly to annual touch points. They're multi-layered and spiraled. So we're constantly working on the work to make sure that our staff are set up for success, which means our students are set up for success.
I'm excited because I know this is the topic where everybody wants more information, and we're about to give it to you. The visual of the quality reviews does help us see the layers, and it helps us to see the timing. I'm going to welcome Mrs. Shamgod. Welcome, if you'll introduce yourself and take us into some of the details about this work. Mrs. Shamgod?
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Shamgod. I come to you with over 25 years of experience in the education field. And yes, I'm a founding member here at Atmosphere Academy. I'm going to talk to you about our quality reviews. We start off with a quality control committee, which is a group of selected leaders who come together to formulate what our quality review will follow when we go out and do these rounds. Yes, we start off with discussion and plan for these rounds, on the day of the review or the quality review, we come together as a full admin team with grade leaders, content leaders across our school. Then we are assigned groups for the rounds. We'll conduct a 15-minute observation of different classes that are assigned to us. And then we'll debrief as the mini cohort who just went into the classroom so that we can make sure that our notes are fresh from seeing that observation before going to the next room. And then we will continue to follow that process until we have conducted observations for the classes that are on our list. And then we come together as a full admin team to formulate next steps. With that intel, we have a scorecard that we follow that identifies the domains from Danielson, which we focus on planning and preparation, classroom environment, and instruction. And with that, we'll give a numerical rating across the grade level based on our observations as a whole with the teams. And then we also come up with our goals, which is our strengths, and our goals, which is areas for improvement for each of the 3 domains listed. And then we take this information to prepare for our next step as a school overall. The grade leaders will take this information and have isolated meetings with their team to discuss this feedback and prepare for next steps in regards to what we saw as a full leadership team in our school. And they'll help with supporting the importance of what teachers need to do for next steps. And this is also a very important part for us because it provides the feedback of what we saw on these walks for the teachers. And we know that that's very important for teachers to get immediate feedback in regards to when leaders come in the room to see what it is that's going on. And that helps us build strength within our school. Here is our quality action plan that we use. We call it our cycle of change. Here we would set goals on our quality action plans. And we implement actions for each quarter of the school year. Each quarter, I'm sorry. As we start from the start of the school year, we'll plan out what's going to transpire for each quarter. We'll reflect on this process and the outcomes of what we want for the end of the year as we're going through each quarter. We'll plan and implement professional development for our teachers. We'll revise curriculum, assessments, and instruction based on the data that we're pulling from these quality reviews. And we'll focus on student success by supporting and developing successful teachers. Here we look at things from a vertical lens and a horizontal lens, with the emphasis on aligning things across all grade levels and all content areas within our building. We align the needs based on everything as a whole for the school. And we utilize the 3D process in which we look at data, we make decisions, and we create documents to help support what it is that we need to implement within our school. Yes, we are a very data-driven school in regards to improving instruction and the quality of our teachers. We continuously build on the process to align and make sure that things are running successfully within our classroom. Here is another look at our 3D process in which we focus on data, decision, and documents. We utilize this all school year, and we just take a deeper dive each quarter at on a different topic based on the needs of our school. So the data points that we pull are from our baseline, which is at the start of the year. Then we do a midline, which is more like a predictive to see how the students are progressing throughout the year. And then we take that data and analyze it to see how do we need to prepare our students more to get them better prepared for the upcoming assessment from the state at the end of the school year. And we also use sprints, which is something that's ongoing that teachers use in their classroom. They'll take that data to drive instruction on a week-to-week basis. We also take this data to implement different things for student achievement and to create different programs within our school. Atmosphere has branded its data decision document process as the 3D system in which data is used to make decisions and create documents that support direct action and support to improve practice and student outcomes here at Atmosphere Academy.
Mrs. Shamgad, I had the pleasure of being with you at Atmosphere, and we have captured an interview with you among many interviews with leaders and teachers from the school. So I want to share a clip there and let people know that this is the kind of content and the kind of rich discussion that's available for continued exploration on the platform. And in this case, you're talking specifically about prioritizing classroom resources. So we'll take a listen here.
Them to walk away with. When it comes to prioritizing resources that teachers use within the classroom, I feel that teachers have the autonomy to decide what resources that they want. Like we have a whole resource bank. Like these are things that we have available to you. We're not locked into one, like if we have a curriculum from Amplify and we use them, we're not locked into that. We have a large variety of resources that teachers can look through and see if that's something they want to use in their lesson. Or we have veteran teachers who 20 years teaching, 10 years, they come with resources. So they will offload those things into our drive. And then everyone has the ability to explore the drive and see what it is that will help them in the classroom be successful. Each department has folders created for their department. So supervisors or school leaders will have training sessions which they will show staff members how to go through the drive and be able to identify certain things. Of course, it depends on when a teacher was hired. So in August, we have training for teachers, and that takes about 2 weeks of not onboarding, but we'll take about 2 weeks, and that'll be part of the training. So teachers will have that training in the beginning, and then during the if they were hired at a different time, they'll have a teacher mentor, and that person will be responsible for showing them how to utilize the drive and use it effectively.
Effective use is the key. A lot of places have data, a lot of places have resources, but having it and using it is not the same thing. And what we're seeing is a really superlative example of best practices. I'd like us to spend a little bit more time. We knew that one of our priorities is data. And so there's an important role at Atmosphere Academy. So I'll invite Ms. Nguyen. Will you introduce yourself and help us transition into a deeper discussion of data and that difference between having it and using it? Welcome.
Yes, thank you so much. So my name is Miss Nguyen. I actually started here at Atmosphere as an English achievement teacher to help kind of boost and give the sprints and teach in our classrooms. And then I was able to work with Mr. Green and the other officers to kind of create the data department and the role, because as we've said throughout this entire meeting, data is such a pivotal part of our student-centered programming here. And data really does make a difference. We all know that resources and programming and all of those kind of things are in a shortage around the United States and around the world. So we want to make use of every single minute, being intentional, like Mr. Green said at the beginning. So we kind of see in the graphics over to the left that different points of data are going into each Atmosphere scholar. So we have their behavioral data or their culture data. We have their academic data. We have programs data on what trips they're eligible to go on based off of a multitude of information that goes into them. Their achievement or assessment data, and then operational data. How often are they shown to the school, their truancy rates, all of that kind of stuff. We then take the data and kind of look into the bottom graphic. We get the data. We then interpret the data using analysis, different spreadsheets, dashboards. We then set goals with our quarterly action plans in our meetings, in our professional developments with our staff. We engage the proper stakeholders, whether it be parents, the community, the board, whoever we need to engage. We then create action and take action. Then we evaluate and see how we did, and then go right on over again and continue to get more data input. In the following slides, we're going to kind of go over the different tools that we use in order to go through this process on a daily basis. There's multiple data cycles that happen each day, each hour, and between grade levels. So this is our first tool, using assessment platforms to visualize the assessment data. This makes the data way more accessible to different stakeholders, including students and teachers, so that they're not just seeing black and white numbers and some squares, some red marks on a piece of paper, but being able to see how they progress through our proficiency levels that we're able to customize and set on these sort of sites. This is an example of a professional development that we did in class using that assessment visualization, looking between different scenarios of between group need, within group need, being able to use our visualization tools to assist teachers. Because like Wendy said, it's not just about having the data, it's about really making sure that we're preparing our staff to use the data to its best effect and not just give students tests every month.
Can we shift and really pay attention to how accessible the data is? Ms. Nguyen, who gets to see what we're looking at?
So everyone gets bits of data, whether it be our community, our board members, our parents, our students, our teachers, everyone has like user level access. So some people are able to just see, like students and parents, their grade books. Obviously the student's not able to see the entire teacher's grade book. The teacher then gets to see their grade book, and then their managers and leaders get to see all of the grade books underneath their umbrella. And then we have global, what we call global leaders, who they get to see all the grade books of the people under their staff, whether it be middle school or high school. So we're able to give access to the families and students and other stakeholders in a way that's digestible for them and not overwhelming for them, but also have this level of transparency in our decision making, whether it be changing our bell schedule. We send out data, we send out screenshots, we send out community blurbs in different languages, we send out newsletters home. We want to make sure that we also have webinars and coffee meets with our grade leaders so that the parents who need a bit more help in understanding the data and what goes into our decision making have the opportunities to get this data kind of taught to them, to kind of build the capacity of our families, not just our students and staff. A great question. This is a different one of our tools. So student information systems, most schools, almost every school has something that holds all the grades, but we don't want to just have the grades being held and tell a student they're failing or tell a teacher that they have a bad fail rate or pass rate. We want to also make professional developments for the teachers to see, again, between groups, within a group, what are the numbers telling us? What does the number tell the student? What does this number tell a family member? What does it mean for them in the long run? And what does it mean for our teachers in order to continually grow their practices in different settings, whether it be gen ed, ICT, honors, AP, whatever, you have it. Another one of our tools that we use very heavily in this organization is the Google Drive and the Google Suite. So this is one of our tools, is Google Forms. We've seen a few of these on previous slides. We use this on our quality control committee, different committees that we have. This is part of our data input, but the data output and interpretation doesn't have to just be the raw like data that's being spit out by Google Form. You can customize the Google Forms to be kind of what we see below, where it kind of spits out observation data in a way that's broken down exactly how we need it, with time and date stamps, being able to customize what dates you're looking at in order to like screenshot and be able to show the teachers and the leaders in a way that's most effective. Obviously, students don't have this data as we're talking about transparency. And another tool that we use are dashboards using Google Sheets. We have a dashboard for everything, which we'll kind of go into in the next slide as well. But we also have just a major dashboard that has dozens and dozens of columns of information for students. But we do want to make sure, again, this is a lot to look at. There's a lot of columns hidden just on this screenshot alone. But depending on the user that you are, we might give you different columns to look at. And then the conditional formatting makes it a little easier to look at. So in this next slide, we're going to see the regions dashboard. So it breaks it down by different subgroups. It breaks it down by what our tracks are in, so that we're able to kind of see trends that we have, whether it be our male and female students, our Hispanic, not Hispanic students, kind of breaking down the information to see trends. And then again, just using some of the customization features, you're able to see quick flags so that as your eye goes, you're catching right over there and you're saying, what's going on with this group? Who teaches this group? What can we do to see? We bring in different members in order to really interpret the data and make decisions from there.
This is impressive use of data, and the visualizations tell us that you're not just spreading flat files out to overwhelm people, but it's being conveyed in a purposeful way so that the data can be used. If you're like me and a little bit less of a spreadsheet-minded person, then sometimes hearing about how the data is used can be helpful. So I'm pleased to share another interview clip with you. This is Mr. Barlia. He's a 6th grade leader, and he helps his team to look at the data at the classroom level, the student level, and then at the grade level. There's quite a bit of consideration that goes into the way data is used, but don't take my word for it. Let's hear from Mr. Barlia.
The two biggest ways I support teachers, one being a resource for data and a resource for intervention. So I'm able to globally see how students are doing in every single class, how they're performing in their electives, how they're performing outside of the school. And so I'm able to collaborate with teachers and say, here's what's going on with this student in this capacity. Here's how it might be impacting your classroom. I'm also able to see trends that I can provide to teachers. So I might be able to say, hey, this specific cohort is failing at a 15% rate in this class and a 15% rate in this class, but they're actually not failing at all in this other class. So why don't we work together with the class where they're doing the best and figure out what are the strategies and techniques that are happening there that allow them to be successful.
I love that. You can hear that the data is being used. I'm hopeful that people will go back and look at the slides that you prepared, Ms. Nguyen, to see how appropriate presentation of data empowers the different stakeholders to make the decisions that are within their sphere of influence. And it is different for the different roles and different stakeholder groups. I think I'm not the only person who would like to have a little bit of insight into the Mr. Green CEO way of seeing school program development. So I'd love to ask you to share some recommendations to other school leaders and staff members. What would you like to see? What kinds of call to action items should we put out there for the education community?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to start with the outcome that you want to see, and you have to backward design from that. So we start a lot of times with our why, our mission, our goals, our objectives. Obviously, we want to see improved student outcomes, and we also want to see improved teacher quality, because those two are married together and they have a synergy. So we think it's absolutely critical to make sure we focus on both the work being done in our buildings as well as the learning happening in our buildings. Next, we really look at the things that might support that: resources, infrastructure. For example, data. I'll give a few examples where we went over. Data is super critical to our school. So we've really built an entire department around that. Lona is the leader of that department. A lot of documents to support that, a lot of meetings and workflows that support that. So what is the workflow that you're focused on, and what are the steps involved? Who will do the work? When will they do the work? Make sure that they have a schedule that makes sense on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, annual basis. And what documents or tools will they use to do the work? So from data to also quality review, we have a quality review quality committee that basically works together and make sure that the school has that process happening every quarter, that we're able to visit classes, that the documents are ready to go, the agendas are ready to go, the report card when we do the walkthroughs, that we can actually memorialize, what we found through a survey, and then it goes into a report card for teachers to see how they're doing on each grade level. And you also break it down by department. So also let supervisors see how their teachers are doing from an objective third-party source, which is their fellow leaders. So definitely we have the local coaching, which we embedded in the school early on. We identified who those people would be. It'd be a local supervisor who would be doing coaching and observation, evaluation, all of that. So, and then the third leg of the stool that we've talked about today is really the space, making sure that, again, we've, hired the right people to take care of the building, that the building, looks its best every single day. And that we also are leveraging every single space on the wall to convey our message, which is about learning. And that's we really see the value of the posters that are in the classrooms, which we spoke about earlier. I think that's something that we have kind of kick-started with the teachers, and the teachers have taken to the next level with open spaces that we didn't fill with essentially, designed posters that are, printed, put in, almost 50 classrooms. Teachers then fill in that space with their own designs and their own creations, like Student of the Month or the parking lot or other things like that.
This is great. Thank you. I'm going to make a call for questions in the chat. And so if you've joined us and something has piqued your curiosity, please go ahead and post a question for us in the chat. We'll field those questions while you're taking a moment to type and let us know how best to provide additional information to you. I want to share a teaching channel resource available to everyone. It's a free download, something to share, something to pass on to colleagues. We are certainly committed to working to decrease teacher turnover. We want to improve instructional practices. We want to increase student achievement and learning outcomes. And so this is one of many resources that Teaching Channel has available to you. My favorite resource is, of course, the videos, because I want you to hear from colleagues like the Atmosphere Academy team that has been so gracious in sharing time with us in this webinar. I want you to see examples. I want you to have the opportunity to watch videos without sound even and see what you see, or to play a video without looking at it and really listen to the voices and the messages that are being gifted to you from educators with a range of experience in a variety of contexts. I'd also love for you to be able to have the thought starter questions that accompany our videos so that your next professional development session is a little bit easier to prepare because our team has done some of the heavy lifting for you. So we'll take questions in the chat and we'll make resources available. Colin, I'm going to start with a question for you, asking if you can share a little bit about the structure of your team. You are a CEO. That's not a title that we hear all the time in the academic environment. How did that shake out?
Absolutely. So I started as the principal of the school, founding principal. We, again, only had about 120 students in year one, but obviously as we've grown over time and now we have a middle school and a high school, my role had to change. And so we really now have layered leadership. We obviously have to be careful about not becoming too bureaucratic, but we really want to make sure that teachers get, again, that local coaching and that local development. And that's why having managers and leaders in each department, English, math, science, social studies, all of the above, both in the middle school and the high school is critical. The teacher needs to be observed and given feedback in real time. And having someone in a central office, who's managing, say 50 teachers, that's not really effective. So we rather have them manage 8 teachers. We have that local presence. And then those managers and leaders need to be manage themselves. They need to be supervised themselves. So that's where someone like Erica comes into play, and she oversees our science department as the director. And she makes sure that both the middle school and high school are going smoothly, and that the local managers are doing their job properly. So, and then officers are really making sure on a global level, across all the content areas, across all the schools, and also the finances, operations, all aspects of the school, that the school is operating properly and can flourish into the future. So one other thing I really want to quickly add just about all the things we talked about today, it really takes the idea of shared decision making. It's absolutely critical to involve all the stakeholders when making decisions and involve them in the process. So even when we do our quality reviews and we walk through classrooms and that content comes back to the teachers and they see what we found, we then ask them to respond and them to react and them to talk about next steps. So the data and also the design of classrooms, as we talked about, it really involves everybody.
I'm going to invite another voice, anyone who's willing to share. I would love, we didn't highlight some of the travel programs of Atmosphere Academy, but it's such a precious part of your program. I would feel negligent if I didn't ask you to share a little bit about it. It may not be at the top of the list of priorities for some programs, but it's certainly a special feature for Atmosphere learners. And who'd like to take that one?
I can speak to
Go ahead, please.
Sure. I mean, I think we all could. And I think that's the beauty of the trips. A number of our staff, everybody who's participating on this webinar, have been on some of our trips, which is really exciting and amazing. But in a gist, we have a variety of reward programs that we use to not only continue to build our mission, but also to incentivize the scholars. So we really believe that learning doesn't just happen in the classroom, but also happens, in the world. And it's a matter of bringing our scholars, into the world and into different environments. And so we work within, the parameters of our data to not just celebrate the scholars that are already straight A students, if you will, but really celebrate the scholars that are working towards individual goals, whether it be in academics, behavior, attendance. And so you see scholars who have really amazing stories, and we showcase some of these stories on our website and in our interviews with the staff on the teaching channel interviews, where we talk about students that were struggling and not coming to school, and, you know, really became motivated and ended up writing college essays about their unique experience going to the Bahamas with Atmosphere. And so we've brought scholars to the Bahamas, to Europe, to Florida, to Costa Rica to do service learning. So really amazing. We have a Japan trip coming up. So onward and upward we're going in terms of trips. Who's to say where we'll be going next? But it's an amazing program.
It is amazing. And that kind of reward can be an incredible motivator. These are also opportunities that students may not have if it were not for the school's commitment to removing some barriers and obstacles to make it possible. That's something I hope that you feel as proud of as I am happy for you. Ms. Villicis, Ms. Shamgod, tell me a student success story.
Who should go first, me or Shamgad?
You're ready.
I'm ready. What would you like to hear? Which success? Because I have many.
I'd love for people to understand the transformative power of being a student at Atmosphere Academy. And if there's someone that comes to mind, we'll keep the names private. But if you'd share a story with us, because the numbers, the data, the program description may sound operational, but when we talk about the human beings whose lives are changed, it really all comes together in a meaningful way.
So as a special ed teacher, I collaborated with my co-teacher, and we, thanks to Mr. Green, this is home away from home. We create an environment that they not only feel safe, but they can also voice themselves, be creative, enjoy the gear that, you know, when they receive this gear, and just coming along the way as we are united and we do this together. Not only are we learning as teachers from the students, but the students are also learning from each other. And I have a couple of stories, but one in particular where one student came from an environment that didn't feel like home. And that child felt supported, not only from the culture members, but from seeing that support, from having gear, this awesome gear that the students are rewarded with, even from trying. And it brings tears to my face, because I see how this child transitioned from not wanting to work to showing a tremendous amount of growth, and having that communication with parents, bringing the community together also with us. It's amazing. From, like Ms. Nash had mentioned, from going to Spain and actually me interacting with ninth graders that I had 4 years ago, that was so impactful. So like I said, I have many stories. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Ms. Villicis. Ms. Shamgod, do you have a student success story that you're willing to share?
I'm going to say an overall success. Thinking about the data and how we plan for these trips, I feel that students who have IEPs, who were struggling in the beginning of the year, they have also had the opportunity to go on some of these trips. So it's not just the perfect student. I have to be an A student, that those are the only ones who get to go on a trip. I feel that we have opened it up, and there has been a variety of students who get to attend these special trips as well. So that's something that's really big for me, to see that students, just because you have an IEP, it doesn't exclude you from anything. You are still a part of our Atmosphere Academy. We are one, and they get to attend these trips as well.
I love it. I have traveled extensively with students, and I'm always amazed at the transformation that occurs. The person that may have all of the mechanics of classroom success can really feel out of sorts out in the real world, and vice versa. The student that they just want to reach a little bit more in the classroom really shines in the real world and can navigate difficulties, can plan ahead, gets the logistics. And so that becomes a really well-rounded program element that you make possible for all learners. Before I bring us in for a landing, the time always goes too quickly when I have a great panel like this one. Before I bring us in for a landing, I would like to thank each of you for sharing about Atmosphere Academy. The 3 priorities that we chose for our discussion today, to me, are the most transferable and essential ones to share with the education community. I'm hopeful that people will explore more about Atmosphere specifically in the videos that you were kind enough to allow us to come and record at your program. program. We want to see your beautiful students. We want to hear from your amazing instructors, and we want to certainly celebrate the continued success and achievement that you've seen in the outcomes that you're providing for everybody. To Atmosphere Academy, thank you. To Sherry Dedman, thank you for helping us identify that this program is a right one to feature for a webinar. To our guests who have joined us today, thank you for sharing time. We'll look forward to following up with you and being available to support you and help you achieve your program goals. Thank you, everybody.